everyone. Welcome to Daily Revelations. Thanks for joining me and go on this journey with me to just see what God has to reveal to us each day as we dive into His Word and make it personal, because that's what God is all about. It's about coming into our lives, not just about saying this is who I am, what I'm about, and you better live by it or else. God wants a relationship with us, and that means that we have to spend time with Him, allow Him to come into our lives, and allow Him to kind of work on those things and point them out that we need help with, and to just rest in His ability to take care of us as our Father and our God. And His lessons are so applicable to life now. I know a lot of people don't think, especially since I'm going through the Old Testament and Genesis we just finished, now Exodus. How does that apply to me? Well, I'm hoping that through these videos that you're seeing that these lessons are timeless. God works through stories and other people's lives to give us examples and to show us how He works, and give us something to go off of that relates to human life and our nature, as it has always been, and it will continue to be until the end of this world. And so just be encouraged that God is not done with us yet. And all these Bible stories with the people that are in them show us that God uses pretty broken people to do some great things if they trust in Him and follow Him. And so I'm going to talk about Exodus 17 today. This is an interesting chapter. It's kind of small, but it's right after the manna and the quail that God gives to feed the people. They were grumbling, they were hungry, and that's what He gave him. And now we start chapter 17 and they're grumbling again. Seems to be a theme, doesn't it? Well, in their grumbling, they were thirsty again. But not only did they grumble, there was against God, they started quarreling with one another. And that was the word that really stuck out to me, was that they had taken it to a new level of not only just voicing their opinions, but they were getting heated. And they were complaining against each other. And Moses pointed out to them, you know what, your complaint is with God, not with me. But how often do we do that? When things don't go right in our lives, we start pointing fingers and saying, this is because of you. And really, is it? Maybe that person was kind of caught in the mix of what was going on. Or maybe they're different from us, and we point fingers. How much in our society do we do that? We don't understand others, and we classify ourselves as this is who I am, and this is who you are, and we don't agree on this, and that's the one thing that I want to make evident, that this is where we don't agree, instead of where we can agree. I was talking with a funder the other day for an ed tech company, and not for my own organization, but one of the organizations we partner with is trying to get funding to increase their product. And so I agreed to just talk to this funder about what's going on in the homeschool realm. She'd been involved in ed tech in the K-12 system, and really wasn't familiar with homeschooling. And so I talked to her from that perspective, and she asked me one question that really relates to this discussion today. And she said, what are the trends going on with homeschooling right now? And I said, unfortunately, the trends are following what I see in our society as well, is that we are dividing ourselves by this is who I am in this little pocket. This is why I matter. And we're not focusing instead on this is how we have commonality, how we can work with one another to build a better structure because of our differences, not because of what we can always agree on. And too often we get stuck in occupying that space that say, this is what I stand for, this is what I believe in, this is what I deserve. Instead of what happened later in Exodus 17 is they had a common enemy, and it caused the Israelites to come back together and to realize, you know what, we're not going to succeed in this battle unless we put down our differences, we stop grumbling with one another, and we allow God to work and bring us together. And what a perfect picture it was of Moses standing on the mountain with two men on either of his sides holding his hands up, because he alone could not hold up his hands to keep the battle winning, because God allowed the battle to be on the Israelites' side when his hands were up, but when his hands were down, the Amalekites were winning. But we need those people around us, and we may not agree with them. We may not say, I agree with everything 100% of what this person does with their organization, or what they do when they homeschool. That's not, or anything else in any other industry you are involved in. It is about finding our commonalities, about uniting in Christ, and even maybe some unbelievers, and how they can work into your life to challenge you, to refine you. God puts people in our lives for different reasons. It doesn't mean we have to completely agree with one another to work together. We just have to find how our commonalities can fight a common enemy, and we are stronger because of that. And unfortunately, our society is going the opposite way, and so many of our industries are too. And it just should give us pause when Jesus tells us that we are to be a servant and to serve others and to think of others before ourselves. When we do that, we put down our differences and we serve. And through fighting common enemies, fighting common battles, God blesses our resolve to follow him the way he asks us to follow him, uniquely and alone. Just because we have a specific calling from God and he asks us to follow his commands, it's not always going to look like our neighbor's call to do the same thing, because God has a unique story and a unique purpose for their life. And we can't discount that just because it doesn't look like ours. We have to occupy a common space with one another to fight those common enemies, to find how God is bringing us together with one another, and to give him glory through everything that we do, by laying down our own agendas, by laying down our own pitiful battles, and seeing that there's something bigger, and we need to work together to battle those enemies. So I hope that was an encouragement for you today. Sorry, I was a little long-winded, but thanks for joining me for Daily Revelations. And again, I'll be back tomorrow to share some more with you. I'll see you then. Bye, everybody.